All right, church, thank you for joining me for today's devotion. Today, you should have read Psalm chapter 80 through Psalm chapter 85. And for me, I was super excited as I started reading these chapters because one of my favorite verses in the Bible is in Psalm chapter 84. Go ahead and look at Psalm 84 with me and notice what it says in verse 10. This is one of my favorite verses. It says, "For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness." How cool is that? That the psalmist is saying that he would rather have one day, like he thinks one day in God's courts is better than 1,000 days anywhere else. Like you name it. Just think in your mind, like, can you think of a cool place to be? The psalmist says, hey, one day with God in his courts, his presence is better than any of those other places you just thought of for 1,000 days. That's how great God's presence is. And then he goes on to say, like, I mean this so much. Like, I would rather be a doorman. Someone just sitting there holding the door open. Not that that's like a bad thing to do. It's just I mean, we probably would say, objectively speaking, it's not the most glamorous job, right? He's saying, I'd rather do that job than anything else with wicked people, than to go dwell in the tents of the wicked. I'd rather go stand at the door of God's courts and just hold the door open for people so I could be in his presence, so I could be close to him. How cool is that? I think the question, though, is that our heart? Is our heart actually, like, do we think God is that great? Do we really believe God is so good, so kind, so merciful, so gracious, so loving, that our hearts like desire, our disposition, the way we view the world is like, yep, God's presence better than anything else. I think I find it convicting when I think about this because many times I think I know this. In fact, today I prayed something similar, but this concept, I know this intellectually, but in my heart, man, I got some work to do. So if you find yourself like me and intellectually you say, I know that God's presence is great and to be with him should be better than anything else, but I don't know that I really feel that, I would just encourage you to join me today and just praying like, God, please change my heart. God, help me see how great you are. Maybe get a concordance or look up online. I mean, today with ChatGPT and whatever other Google AI source, you could just say, give me all the verses about how big God is, or insert whatever attribute that you tell me verses about God's love. Tell me verses about God's sovereignty. Show me verses about God's mercy, whatever, and just read those and like start and say, God, like help me see how great you are, and help me then after seeing that believe your presence is better than anything else. Because one day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorman in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. Thank you for joining us on today's devotion. By the way, if you find yourself a little bit behind or maybe a lot of it behind, don't worry about that. Just jump in with us tomorrow on Psalm chapter 86.